So you just got your hands on the brand new 2024 iPad with the powerful M4 chipset. You unboxed it, you already went through the setup process, and now you may be wondering what's next. What can you do next to take full advantage of this already beast of a tablet? And so in today's video, I want to go ahead and share with you the first 25 things you should first do on your brand new iPad Pro. These are going to be tips and tricks and essential things you should at least know. If you find any of these tips useful throughout the video, greatly appreciate it if you could leave this video a thumbs up. So one of the beauties about the Apple Pencil is the ability to take a screenshot by just doing that. And then you could do this to take a quick note with the Apple Pencil. But let's say you don't have an Apple Pencil, but you want to still take advantage of this ability to take a screenshot by just sliding your finger instead of actually pressing on the physical buttons, like volume up and volume down. Just take a screenshot like I did right there. To enable this, go into your iPad settings, select the multitask and gestures, scroll down to refine swipe finger from corner. Enable this, and if you notice, you could swap it. If you want the left side to take screenshots or the right side, you can swap it between quick notes or that. I like to leave it on default, so now by simply sliding my finger like this, it will immediately take a screenshot without having me to physically press on the buttons. And then the other side will allow me to have access to notes as well. And with the keyboard, by pinching, you can minimize the keyboard if you're using this in landscape modes for single hand typing. And then just reverse the process to make it full screen again. Now, new for the iPad Pros is the ability to professionally scan documents, which is why I like having my file folder right here, because this allows me to have quicker access to my iCloud, which will be synchronized automatically on my Mac computers, as well as other devices, where I could long hold on a blank section right here, tap on scan document, and now I have the full freedom to scan a document and utilize that shadow removal that Apple integrated on these newer iPad Pros. So this being the iPad Pro, the refresh rate can actually go up to 120 Hertz. Because of this, Apple has a new awareness feature where if you go and hop into your iPad settings and go into Face ID and passcode into your login credentials, if you scroll down to attention awareness, enable this, because by having this enabled, if the iPad notices you're not looking directly at it, it's going to lower the refresh rate all the way down to 10 Hertz, preserving battery life this way. But this being the workhorse of tablets, and just like my laptops and computers, I like having my laptop always stay on to only turn off when I tell it to, which is why I recommend going into your settings and going into display and brightness, scroll down to find lock and select never. This way, especially if you have the Magic Keyboard, you could just tap the escape lock key right here to lock your device like you'll typically use a work laptop. So because of this, the next thing I recommend is disabling your notifications, because if you already have your Apple Watch, smartwatch even, or an iPhone, you already have these devices giving you notifications. The next thing you need is distractions on your work tablet. So on notifications, I always like to go here and just turn off the notifications that are not really important, like Game Center. We don't need that. Messages, also distracting, don't recommend that. Again, we have our phones typically nearby us. So go through this app and disable the notifications on certain apps you really don't care about and you should really use or have enabled, or else it'll easily distract you from your work. Now, for my emails, I always like using the mail widget, all due to the fact because if you hit edit, you can choose what type of message you want to show. So I only selected my VIPs, which includes like payment infos, CPA. So I recommend having a widget for your VIP email addresses right here and just select VIP. Now I like having a clean layout on my iPad, but all my other apps, I typically have them on the app library. And once in a while I will download more apps, especially if they're work related, but I don't like having it clutter and automatically fill up my home page. So the next thing I also suggest is going into your iPad settings and then tap in the home and app library, and where it shows newly downloaded apps, instead of allowing the apps to automatically clutter up your home page and give you more distractions, check mark app library only. This way, all those new apps you added are all located here, automatically organized. And if you like to re-add them, you just long hold and just drag and you can add them like that. But I don't want to shop more, so I'm taking out Apple App Store and staying here. when I really do need it. I know where to look for it. Now with the Magic Keyboard, there's no need to verbally request Siri to do certain things, which is why I recommend having Type to Siri instead, especially if you're in public places like a Starbucks or something like that. So by hopping into your settings and then you scroll into accessibility, in the accessibility tab, look for Siri, and where it says Type to Siri, enable this. So now whenever you enable Siri on your iPad, you'll automatically get a keyboard and you can request Siri to do whatever you were going to ask it originally. Instead of verbally doing it, just type it in. And then with the Magic Keyboard, this is where I get the most use out of it. By holding the globe icon and the S button, Siri will automatically prompt up and you can just type in whatever request you were going to ask Siri, either a reminder or a common question like how's the temperature looking like over here. Changing the text size is the next thing I like to cover on my homepage. If you don't have a hard time of reading, you may want to take advantage of the entire screen real estate, especially if you have a small iPad like I do. This is the 11-inch. I didn't go for the 13. That's a bit too much. I didn't go for the next one because I think that's a little bit too much. So on display and brightness, where it says text size, change it to your personal preference, but I find even the lowest setting for me, it's perfect for my eyes, but for this video, I'm keeping it in the middle. But if you have a Magic Keyboard and there's an app you're on and you like to increase the text size, by holding down Command, you could tap plus or negative, and this will also allow you to change the text size right there on demand. So since we are in Safari, there's a couple things I recommend enabling, all due to the fact that this is a workhorse of a computer tablet. In the settings, go into Safari, and where it says show favorite, enable this, because now if we hop back into Safari, you'll see all your favorites are right there, and they don't even take up that much space. I don't know why Apple has this disabled by default, but this definitely does come in handy, especially if you're using this as your mobile computer. Another thing that I don't like that's disabled by default is in the Safari tab still. If we scroll down where it says show links on hover, I like enabling this because with the Magic Keyboard or an external mouse you may be using, if you put the cursor on a highlighted URL, it'll actually show you a preview right then and there. But now if we go back in Safari, let's say for example, you have a work login on a website you do all the time, and you want to make this into a homepage app instead, you could do that. Just tap the up arrow share icon, scroll all the way down, and where you see add to home screen, here you could name it to whatever you want. I'm just going to call it workout. Tap done. You can tap on it and it'll take you to the URL using your web browser of choice, and if you look closely you could also move it around like a normal app. But going back in Safari tab, another thing I want to briefly go over is the capability to change your default web browser. So if you're using Chrome and you download on your iPad, you can select it to be the default web browser of choice. And in search engine, you have the ability to swap that with something else if you want to use like Bing or something like that. Full freedom to change that to your own personal preference. Now, useful work features I like to cover is drag and drop. You see on the iPad Pros, you can multitask. If I go ahead and open up Safari and I tap these three dots right here, I could split view. I could tap on one side, and then from here I could tap whatever app I wanted to be next. So in our case, I'm just going to select books. You can change the size, you can close the app entirely, you can start fresh, you can have notes on each other like this, you could click and drag stuff just like this. And if you have other devices you'd like to transfer data to, you can also share stuff by simply just copying the item and going on the other device and then paste, and it'll import just like that. You could also do the simple 3-finger pinch on an image to copy, just like that. It said a copy, and you can also paste it by doing the same thing, but opening up like that. For some reason, due to my internet, it's not loading the images properly, but it was supposed to work. But if you want to quickly exit an app, you can use all 5 fingers and just do this to enter multitasking. And of course, long hold midway will also enter multitasking as well. And then in Control Center, of course, this is how you drag it down. A long hold around this general area will allow you to bypass having to go into settings just to connect to a different Wi-Fi network. Same applies for Bluetooth. And if you have AirPods, you could long hold on the volume to quickly change to transparency mode or other modes that the AirPods or over-the-ear headphones you're using is compatible with. Now, we don't have a screen record icon. That's because you have to go into your settings and look for the Control tab for a Control Center, and look for the Control Center shortcut you like to add. So we are adding the screen recorder, and I'm also going to go ahead and add the low power mode. Feel free to peruse around here, but these are my go-to because screen recorder, again, will give me the ability to screen record anything on the screen of my iPad. If you long hold this, you can see the hidden microphone option if you like to include like a voiceover tutorial. And then of course you have low power mode. And in here would be your stage mode, which allows you to easily multitask and have multiple windows open at once. Adjust the size to your own personal preference as if you're working like on a desktop. You can move things around. And you can also swipe between some previously open apps right here as well. The only con to this is that you will not be able to take full advantage of the entire screen real estate compared to the previous split screen view mode. As you see, there's a couple of gaps right here, but you can squeeze as much as possible, but you're still leaving those like grooves right there. Just a quick FYI, which is why I prefer having it turned off and just switch to this. So let's talk about security. The Find My is enabled on every iPad, but the only con is, regardless if you have the cellular version iPad or the regular Wi-Fi, if you lock your device and someone just does this, they can just disable it all right there. The thief will be able to make off with your iPad without you being able to track them. So I highly recommend disabling the control center on the lock page. You can find it in settings and scroll into the Face ID and passcode section, into your login credential, scroll down, and where it says allow access when locked, disable control center. And feel free to disable everything else as well. But now, when we lock our device, our thieves are unable to lower control center and disable Bluetooth so it doesn't communicate with other devices if your iPad is stolen. Another thing you may want to be considering doing, possibly give yourself more privacy. When notifications like messages and stuff like that come up and your display is locked, instead of showing everybody what that message is, you can enable it so it will only show the person who's sending the message and no body to the text message other than just saying that it's a text. If you like to enable this feature, you'll find it in settings and look for the notification tab right here where it says show previews. Go in here and check mark when unlocked. This way, all your private sensitive information isn't open to the public even while your device is locked. Now, if you have the Magic Keyboard, here's a couple of settings I recommend changing. In settings and go into accessibility, go in and look for pointer control. Keep in mind you need to be connected to your Magic Keyboard or a Bluetooth mouse pad to see the pointer control option in accessibility. But in here, you could not only change the pointer size, but you can also change the color. If you're like me, who always like loses your pointer whenever you're using like black and white apps, I highly recommend changing the color so it doesn't get lost. But if we scroll down to where it says scroll speed, change the speed. Really nifty, definitely does come in handy, especially if you have a preference. Another key things to also remember with the Magic Keyboard is hold down the command key, and this will prompt you a little window showing you all the commands you could do on the Magic Keyboard. Because right here, I do have some of my priorities widgets, and that is the focus mode. So on my iPad, just tap right here, immediately takes me to the focus mode, and then by tapping on this widget, it immediately will turn it off. And if you like to set this widget up, it's super easy to do so. You are required to go into your shortcut app. So to give you a quick rundown on how I'll set that up, let's go ahead and go to the shortcut app, tap plus, tap here, and we're gonna type in focus. And just look for this little section where it says set focus. Click on here, and we want it to turn on. And where it says do not disturb, select the mode you like. So I'm gonna select work, and then on off, we want it to turn on, and then just leave until turn off. And then on top right here, what we're gonna do next is change this to an icon, change the color to your own personal preference, down, tap the little down arrow one more time because we need to go and rename, and let's just name this focus mode work, right? Since I already have that one named, it's not gonna work, so I'm just gonna call it work 2 because I'm gonna delete this. This is just for demonstration purposes. Tap done, and then choose icon. You can select cars or other things. You have a whole list of selection. I'm just gonna select puzzles just for this video. And once you do that, once you see the shortcut right here, you're then gonna long hold until you enter wiggle mode, tap the plus arrow, and you're gonna scroll down till you find the shortcut. Here you could set the shortcut widget by itself like this, or you can use like a 2-column shortcut. I personally prefer using the 4. So now once you do that, you may have noticed your shortcuts are not in order. Now we need to go back into shortcut app, and we're going to select the 4 different modes we like. So in the starter shortcut, we're just going to drag and drop the shortcuts that we enjoy to use. This way they're organized in the widget. So now whenever we go back here and we tap edit widget, and where it says all folders, select the starter shortcut because that's the folder they're in. And now it's organized to those 3 different modes. So now I can just tap here to start that mode for work or gaming. And if I like to turn it off, I just tap turn off. And to set up the turn off widget, go back in your shortcuts. Once again, type in focus, set focus. And then we're gonna select the mode. Just select any mode for this to work and leave default off. So now if I click and drag this to the starter one, and we start a work focus, now our iPad's on our focus mode on work, and if you set this off, it will automatically turn it off. So if you notice, we're in gaming mode, and by tapping this, we'll quickly go back and turn it off just like that. So that's how you can set a turn off widget. I'll delete that one later. Other than that, there you guys have it. Those are the best tips and tricks, some essential settings you should definitely consider enable, especially if you just picked up the all new M4 iPad Pro. Tell me which one of these were your favorites, and if you have some of your very own you'd like to also share with everybody else, feel free to comment down below. But as always, my name was Eddie. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.